Hey, welcome back to Following Science. Today, we're diving into a really exciting and multifaceted topics, our brains. Specifically, we're going to explore three books that offer profound insights into how we can improve our mental health, focus, and productivity in this digital distraction-filled age. Now, this is something different because usually I pick a topic and I just go and explore it completely. But today, I'm not going to be exploring it. I'm going to let these books, who have already explored it because these are written by experts, and I'm just going to summarize them for you because I think it can really teach something, especially because these books are so insightful. So, yeah, these books, Dopamine Detox by Debatu Maurice, ADHD 2.0 by Dr. Edward Hallowell and Dr. John Rady, and Keep Sharp by Dr. Sanjay Gupta, each tackle different yet interconnected aspects of brain health. Now, in this episode, we'll break down each book's main ideas, practical strategies, and how you can start applying them right now to improve your mental resilience and live a more fulfilling life. Now, whether you're looking to understand the science behind dopamine and how it impacts your day-to-day decisions, or you want to explore the nuances of ADHD, or perhaps even learn how to keep your mind sharp as you age, this episode will have something for everyone. So, let's dive right in. Let's kick things off with Dopamine Detox by Debatu Maurice. Now, this book focuses on a neurotransmitter that most of us have heard of. Can you take a guess? That's right, dopamine. But even though dopamine is well known, its role in our behavior and mental health is often misunderstood. In today's world, dopamine is constantly stimulated by a barrage of notifications, social media, digital entertainment, and consumerism. Every time you check your phone, there's a little rush, a tiny reward that reinforces the behavior of constantly reaching for it. This is what Maurice calls our dopamine addiction, quote unquote. And it's driven by the feedback loop of seeking more instant gratification. Now, what exactly is dopamine, and why is it so important? While dopamine is often referred to as the feel-good chemical, I like to call it the happy chemical, but that's an oversimplification. More accurately, it's involved in motivation, reward, and reinforcement learning. When we experience something pleasurable, our brain releases dopamine, which then signals to us, hey, that felt good. Let's do it again. This is a survival mechanism, originally meant to reinforce behaviors that help us survive, like eating and socializing. However, with today's digital stimulation, our dopamine circuits are continuously and constantly on. According to Maurice, this overstimulation can lead to us becoming addicted to instant gratification, which makes it harder to enjoy less stimulating but more meaningful activities. So if you ever found yourself bored after just a few seconds without a screen, or feel constantly restless unless you're checking your phone, you've probably experienced the effects of this dopamine overload firsthand. Now that we understand the problem, let's talk about the solution that Maurice proposes, the quote-unquote dopamine detox. This isn't just about eliminating dopamine from your brain. That's impossible. And dopamine itself is essential for everyday functioning, so we can't just say, get rid of it, it's all bad, because it's not all bad. Instead, a dopamine detox is about reducing the number of artificial and excessive dopamine hits that come from things like social media, video games, and other digital sources. By doing this, we allow our brain to reset and rebalance, which can help us regain focus and find pleasure in simpler activities again. Maurice suggests that we start by identifying our main sources of dopamine stimulation. For most people, this might be social media, streaming platforms, online shopping, or video games. Now, once we've identified these sources, the next step is to intentionally avoid them for a set period. This can be as short as a few hours, or it could last an entire day, or even a week if you're up for the challenge. Now, there are a couple of ways to approach this detox. The quote-unquote hard reset involves cutting out all high dopamine activities for a specific period. No phone, no internet, no TV. This can be intense, but it's effective in giving your brain a full break. The soft reset approach is a little bit more moderate, because soft. You might, for example, only restrict your social media usage to certain times a day, or avoid certain apps entirely. This approach can be more sustainable for people who can't or don't want to completely disconnect. Now, what I personally like to do is I set specific times for me to check my social media. So I'm not scrolling on Instagram all day long. I have specific times to do that. So maybe it's from 12 a.m. to 12:30, just because that's my lunchtime and I really want to go on Instagram and scroll. Maybe it's right before I sleep. Now, of course, we've all read the books that say don't use technology an hour at least before you sleep. But when I say right before I sleep, I mean somewhere in the 2 hours. Before I sleep, I'm going to check my phone for 30 minutes and be done with it. Sometimes, if I'm really, really feeling the need to check Instagram, I might add in one more dose of it somewhere during the day, in the middle of the day, maybe between my first and my last time I check it. But I'm not always scrolling on it. So if I've checked it for 30 minutes, for just an hour ago, I'm not gonna check it for the next 3 to 4 hours, because that's the type of self-control you need to have over yourself, and you need to be keeping yourself in check for it. Because this dopamine detox is not gonna work until you're really making sure that you're keeping yourself in check. Because in the end, that's what matters. Are you checking yourself? Are you being responsible for your own actions? Now, let's move on to some benefits and challenges of dopamine detoxing. One of the fascinating things about dopamine detoxing is the impact it can have on our perception of time and pleasure. When we're constantly bombarded with dopamine hits, our baseline for enjoyment goes up. Simple things like reading a book or taking a walk can start to feel boring in comparison to the instant thrill of scrolling through social media or binge watching a show. But even after a short dopamine detox, many people report a renewed ability to enjoy slower activities. It's like recalibrating our brain's reward system so that we can once again appreciate life's quieter moments. Of course, there are challenges, like there are with everything. It wouldn't be life if there was not challenges. But we live in a society that's constantly built on keeping us constantly engaged and distracted. During a dopamine detox, people often experience withdrawal-like symptoms such as boredom, restlessness, and even mild anxiety. These are normal, and they're signs that your brain is adjusting. The key is to lean into these feelings and use the time to re-engage with activities that don't rely on instant gratification. Over time, this process can help rebuild your ability to focus and find joy in less stimulating but more rewarding experiences. Now let's shift our focus to ADHD 2.0, a groundbreaking book by Dr. Edward Hallowell and Dr. John Brady, two of the most respected names in the field of ADHD research. Now, ADHD 2.0 takes a fresh look at a condition that's often misunderstood and misrepresented. ADHD, or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, is commonly seen as a problem of attention or impulse control. But Hallowell and Brady challenge this view, describing ADHD as more than a deficit, which is what people normally think of it as. But what they describe it as is that it's a unique way of thinking and processing information with both challenges and strengths. Again, like there is with everything. These authors describe ADHD as a quote-unquote fast brain condition, where individuals with ADHD have brains that crave stimulation and novelty. This need for stimulation can make it difficult to stay focused on tasks at hand that are, of course, mundane or repetitive. However, it also means that people with ADHD can excel in environments where they're constantly challenged, where there's variety, and where they can engage deeply in areas they're passionate about. Now, one of the key takeaways from ADHD 2.0 is the concept of a quote-unquote positive niche. A positive niche is an environment or routine that aligns with the strengths and needs of someone with ADHD. For example, if someone with ADHD thrives in high energy settings, they might do well in a career that requires quick thinking and problem solving. Finding or creating a positive niche can help turn what's often seen into a deficit into actually an asset. Now, this book also discusses practical strategies for managing ADHD symptoms. Dr. Hallowell and Dr. Rady emphasize the importance of lifestyle factors, particularly exercise, which they describe as the quote-unquote miracle drug for ADHD. Regular physical activity helps boost levels of dopamine. You know that dopamine detox we were talking about? Well, this does not need detox because this type of dopamine is actually good for you. Then moving on, other hormones like norepinephrine and serotonin, all of which play an important role in attention and focus. Now, in many ways, exercise acts as a natural form of medication, helping individuals with ADHD find balance and improve focus without relying solely on prescriptions. Routine is another powerful tool. For many people with ADHD, the concept of a routine might seem restrictive or even daunting, but routines are flexible yet structured, can provide a sense of stability. So, this does not mean that every moment needs to be planned, but it also means that it's okay to have set times for key activities like sleep, meals, and exercise, because it can create a rhythm that makes it easier to manage ADHD's inherent restlessness. Now, honestly, apart from people being ADHD, I also think this applies to just people who don't think that they have ADHD. But in general, I think having a routine, but not a strict routine, which is rigid and it's not flexible, like, I don't think that's good. Because if you have a rigid and non flexible routine, then that means that you're not allowing yourself to really deep dive into the things you're doing. And it honestly can make people restless that, oh, I have this next activity in 10 minutes. I have this next activity in an hour. I need to hurry up with what I'm currently doing. And they don't put their heart and soul into what they're currently doing. Which is exactly why flexibility in a schedule is so important, because it kind of releases that pressure that I have to have this done in 2 hours. If it takes 2 hours and 30 minutes, that's okay because your schedule is flexible. Your routine is flexible. Now, and also a routine's rigidness should come in the activities you do. Supposedly, if you're saying that, oh, I'm going to exercise for an hour every single day. Now, when you do that exercise could be the flexible part, but the fact that you will do exercise that day is the rigid part. Now, moving on to this book again, Dr. Hallowell and Dr. Brady also discuss the role of dopamine in ADHD. People with ADHD often have lower levels of dopamine receptors, which means they require more stimulation to feel rewarded. This can lead to them seeking out high dopamine activities, which in some cases can be destructive, like excessive gaming, impulsive shopping, or risky behaviors. However, by understanding the brain's dopamine needs, people with ADHD can consciously choose healthier ways to satisfy this craving for stimulation. This might include engaging in challenging hobbies, exercise routines, or careers that provide a sense of accomplishment and reward. Now, one approach the author suggests is dopamine stacking, which involves combining less stimulating tasks with those that provide natural dopamine boosts. For example, if someone with ADHD struggles with routine paperwork, they might listen to upbeat music or take short breaks for physical movement to make the task more engaging. Basically, what they're doing is making boring tasks seem fun so that they actually want to do it. Now, the goal is, with this, to create a steady, sustainable flow of dopamine without the crash that comes with overstimulation. Now, another important aspect of ADHD 2.0 is focus on the emotional and social dimensions of ADHD, which are often overlooked. Many people with ADHD experience higher levels of rejection sensitivity, or what the authors call rejection sensitive dysphoria. This means that they may feel disproportionately hurt by criticism or rejection, which can lead to social anxiety and low self-esteem. This emotional intensity is a core part of the ADHD experience, and understanding it can make a big difference in improving relationships and self-acceptance. Now, Dr. Hallowell and Dr. Rady encourage individuals with ADHD as well as their families to view these emotional sensitivities as a natural part of the ADHD brain rather than as a weakness. They suggest strategies like mindfulness, self-compassion, and reframing negative thoughts to manage emotional challenges. Now, by understanding and embracing the emotional aspects of ADHD, people can then develop resilience and a positive self-image. Finally, let's move on to our last and final book of the day that we're discussing. Let's look at Keep Sharp by Dr. Sanjay Gupta, which takes us on a journey from how we can maintain our brain health throughout our lives. Now, if you're worried that because you're aging, you're going to stop remembering things and stuff like that, then don't worry, because this book teaches you how to keep your brain health as young as it was when you were 18 years old. So, let's move on and discuss this book. Now, in Keep Sharp, Dr. Gupta, a neurosurgeon and CNN's chief medical correspondent, distills decades of brain science into practical strategies that everyone can use to protect and enhance their mental abilities as they age. Now, Dr. Gupta highlights 5 key pillars for brain health: move, discover, relax, nourish, and connect. Each of these areas is designed to target different aspects of brain health, from physical exercise to social interaction, all of which are important for maintaining cognitive function. The first pillar, move, emphasizes the critical role of physical exercise in preserving brain function. Dr. Gupta explains that the physical activity does not just benefit the body, it directly benefits the brain by promoting neurogenesis, which is the formation of new brain cells, especially in the hippocampus, a region crucial for memory. Exercise also increases blood flow to the brain, reduces inflammation, and boosts mood regulating chemicals like endorphins. He cites studies showing that people who exercise regularly have a significantly lower risk of cognitive decline as they age. Now, I know what you guys are all thinking. Frutu, all you keep mentioning is exercise. Any problem? And your first answer is exercise. But is it really that important? And the answer is yes, it is that important because it helps in everything and it's literally a natural solution. So why not use it? Now, Dr. Gupta specifically recommends aerobic exercises, strength training, and activities that balance and challenge balance and coordination, such as dancing. These forms of exercise provide a comprehensive approach to brain health by engaging both the body and the mind. Now, moving on, the second pillar, discover, is about engaging in lifelong learning and staying mentally active. Dr. Gupta emphasizes the importance of continuously challenging the brain with new activities and skills. This can mean learning a new language, picking up a new instrument, or even engaging in just creative projects. The brain thrives on novelty and complexity, and new learning experiences help build cognitive resilience by creating new neural pathways. Now, Dr. Gupta introduces the concept of cognitive reserve, which refers to the brain's ability to adapt and compensate for age-related changes or damage. Now, cognitive reserve is built by exposing the brain to a variety of mental challenges throughout life. People who cultivate a rich cognitive reserve are better equipped to maintain mental sharpness even in the face of aging or neurological conditions like Alzheimer's. Next, let's talk about the third pillar, relax. Dr. Gupta emphasizes that chronic stress and lack of sleep are two of the biggest stresses and threats to brain health. Chronic stress increases levels of cortisol, which over time can damage the brain, particularly the hippocampus. Managing stress is essential for protecting our cognitive health. Gupta encourages mindfulness techniques, meditation, and spending time in nature to reduce stress. Sleep, he argues, is just as important. During deep sleep, the brain undergoes critical processes like clearing out waste products and consolidating memories. Gupta recommends 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night and advises against late night screen use, as blue light can interfere with the production of melatonin, a hormone that regulates sleep. Now, the fourth pillar is nourish, which focuses on the importance of diet for brain health. Dr. Gupta advocates for a Mediterranean-style diet rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, and healthy fats, especially omega-3 fatty acids found in fish. These foods are packed with antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds, which can help protect the brain from oxidative stress. He also discusses the importance of limiting sugar and processed foods, which have been linked to cognitive decline. Gupta suggests that by thinking of food as a fuel for the brain, we can make dietary choices that support mental clarity and cognitive longevity. The final pillar, connect, is all about the power of social relationships. Research has shown that loneliness and social isolation can significantly increase the risk of cognitive decline. Social interactions stimulate the brain, help reduce stress, and provide emotional support, all of which are protective factors for the brain. Gupta encourages staying connected with friends, family, and community, and engaging in meaningful social activities to promote long-term cognitive well-being. So, what can we take away from these powerful books? Because you've been hearing me talk about this for a long time. But in the end, what are you taking away? Well, I've got the answer for you. First, Dopamine Detox teaches us about the impact of digital overstimulation on our dopamine system and how resetting our habits can lead to a more balanced and focused life. ADHD 2.0 offers an empowering view of ADHD, suggesting that with the right environment and strategies, individuals with ADHD can thrive and leverage their unique strengths. And Keep Sharp gives us a comprehensive framework for lifelong brain health, covering everything from physical activity and diet to social connections. Ultimately, these books remind us that taking care of our brains is just as important as taking care of our bodies. By understanding how our brains work and implementing these practical strategies, we can improve our focus, reduce stress, and build a foundation for lifelong cognitive health. So, as we wrap up this episode, I just want to thank you all for tuning into Following Science. I hope you found this discussion insightful and that it inspires you to take a closer look at your daily habits and routines. Now remember, what I just told you guys was a complete summary of 3 amazing and comprehensive books written by experts who really do know what they're doing. So if you do have the time, make sure you guys look into these books and read it as a whole. But if not, this summary and this podcast is always here for you. So until next time, keep following science, keep learning, and keep exploring. This is your host, Rutu Raparel, signing off.